Hello, good morning. It's Tracy Daviero here with your VA Mentor for another Facebook Live. Um, yeah, good morning. It's uh, it's Christmas. Can you see my Christmas lights over here? Well, it's not quite Christmas. Oh my goodness, it's way too close to Christmas for my liking. I don't have anything done yet. Well, I do have my lights up. So, there's that. But just trying to wrap up some work and that kind of thing for the holidays. I think we talked last time about taking time off, or I did on one of my lives anyway. But today I wanted to talk to you. Actually, it's probably, just as fitting a time to talk about this topic. Today I wanted to talk to you about managing your money, because one of the things that comes up often when I talk to VAs or when they reach out to me for advice or information or resources or anything like that is setting rates. Always, 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 right? Not a lot of people ask me how to choose services, although that's a really important piece. They ask me how to find clients, what to charge, what systems to use for stuff, and blah, blah, blah. There's lots of different, very, very common questions. But money only comes into it, for the most part, when people are asking about setting their rates, or do you charge by package or retainer, do you get prepaid, all that kind of stuff. But that's not the only thing that money is important for your business. That's not even a complete sentence. I've had that more of my coffee this morning. But that's not the only place that money is very important in your business. Not so you're setting your rates and you're comfortable with your value, that you know that your clients are paying you what you're worth, what you want them to pay you. But once the money comes in, it's very, very important to manage it correctly. And so I'm still learning this. I learn this all the time, because when the money comes in, there's certain places that it needs to go, right? You have expenses that you need to pay. You need to save for your taxes. You want to obviously pay yourself, but you also want to think about profit in your business. And I don't want to get too heavy into money, 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 but it is really important to look at all of those things. You want to make sure that you are obviously paying yourself, but the expenses that you are encouraging, oh my goodness, words are failing me today. It's totally okay. Um, uh, Expenses that you are incurring in your business, first of all, I think it's really important to assess all the things that you're doing to see if there is a system that you can use to pay for your expenses. So a paid service, because I think a lot of times what we do, and I was very, very guilty of this for many years, I tried to do everything cheap or free. And I still believe in cheap or free, particularly when you're starting out. I think there's nothing that is more important than just getting your business off the ground and getting money coming in. But I think that you always have to be looking at the things you're doing, the tasks you're doing, the admin you're doing, any repetitive tasks that you're doing, to see if you can automate them in some way. And sometimes that means paying for a service. For instance, I have a scheduling app that I pay for, or a scheduling system. It's not particularly just an app. And so I do that because I was going back and forth with a lot of people trying to plan, appointments, and trying to, people were no shows because I would put it in my calendar and they may or may not put it in their calendar. So I actually bought, started paying for, I think that was one of my first expenses actually, was paying for a scheduling system. And if you're going to be doing a lot of that as well, then I would suggest the same thing. I think at the time I use Time Trade. And at the time it was called Time Driver. And I think it was $25 a year. It was not expensive. And I think now it's a little bit more expensive than that, but I think I still only pay, and I may have had a grandfathered price, I think I pay $50 a year for it. I should know that, but I think I do, because it's an annual bill. I never sure until it comes around. And so, yeah, so I think it's like $50 a year, which is good. You can get a lot of them that are free, some that are, $5, $10 a month or whatever it is, depending on the amount of scheduling that you're doing. But for me, that was a very valid expense, because I did find that not only was I going back and forth with a lot of people trying to figure out when to have a meeting, but I was also finding people not showing up, because my system now sends reminders to them. I can send the dial-in information. I do all of my consults on Zoom now, so that I can have a video and I can record them, which I'll also highly recommend for you. So that's an area that you want to be able to look at and see, is that a good expense? So there are a lot, and then you have to start looking at other things that are they good expenses or are they not? Because there are good and bad, right? If it's something that you're not using, I never suggest that a VA starts out a business with a project management system, because even though your business is going to grow, and you're going to be managing a lot of clients, I don't think that it's necessarily an expense that you need to incur until you have several people whose stuff you have to manage, right? And in my case, a lot of times what happened was, the people that I was working with, because they were higher level clients, I worked with 6 and 7 figure business coaches. They already had a team of people. So they had a client care person, and they had a website person, and they had a graphics person, social media, and all that stuff. And so when I came in onto their team, they already had a project management system that they were using. And so that really made it easy for me. I didn't have to be managing everybody's stuff in my particular project management system. The people that I ran events for when I was doing my virtual events and telesummits, that was different. I was, running their stuff, definitely, because I was the one who was in charge of the entire project. So it really depends on the services that you're offering, whether that kind of expense is an important thing for you or not. But I do want to talk about really the fact that you do need to manage the money that's coming in. And so it's not just a matter of making the amount of money that you want every month and then breathing a sigh of relief at the end of it. So, a lot of specialists, and I'm not an accounting specialist by any stretch of the imagination. And I often do, whenever people inquire about what to do for, any kind of money stuff, I defer to the experts, right? Just like anything legal, I defer to the experts. Anything CRA, which is here in Canada, is like your IRS in the US, our government, I defer to those people because that's where you're going to get the proper information. And so I'm not going to be the one to, to sort of give that out. But in terms of your money, I do know business bank account is absolutely very, very important to have, so that you can keep all of your business money in one place. And then a tax account is a really good idea, because then you're taking out that money before you spend it, for one thing, but also so that you know that you have enough to cover whatever the tax bill is whenever that comes. So those are two things that I would suggest right away. I would suggest looking at expenses and knowing that, maybe you're going to grow into something. One of the interesting things that I read in one of my business books, I'm in a business book club, and we read a different business book every month together. And one of the interesting things I read, which I had not considered before, was talking about deciding if you're ready to get support, like hiring a VA in your business, because of course, so many of our clients think that they're not ready to do that. And so what the advice was, which I thought was very interesting, and actually it's probably a good idea, is to put money aside in the amount that you expect to pay somebody, and do that for a few months to see if you have the money to pay somebody. And I think it's kind of an interesting, it's a little bit of a budgeting tool, really, isn't it? Because I think what the advice means is that you do have the money. And if you have that money and you're putting it aside for a few months, you know that it's there, you're just afraid to spend it. And I think that's the case with a lot of our clients, is that, we get into a situation where they think that they can't afford us at whatever rate that is. And, we're in a position where we have to explain our value to them. And we have to let them know all the things that we can take off of their plate. And I think it's the same thing with you in terms of your expenses. If you want to get a project management system, then maybe that's something that you should put money aside for a few months to see if you can afford it. And it's not, you could even figure it out on paper, right? Like I know whenever everybody does their monthlies and that kind of thing, it's important to be able to look and say, okay, do I have the money to pay for this? And if I don't have the money, how much of a priority is it? And can I go out and get another client? Because really, that's the whole thing, is all you need to do, and I'm going to say this very matter-of-factly, and you're probably going to go, come on, Tracy. But all you have to do is make enough money to cover the expenses that you're trying to cover. And I know that sounds very matter-of-fact, but when you look at things, I talk about all the time, I talk about what you focus on being the thing that you take daily action for. So if you are focusing on getting a new client because you want somebody to come in the door at $500 a month so that you can afford, the project management system, and to give yourself more money every month, like to actually pay yourself more every month, that's really good incentive, right? You need the project management system to do things well, and you need, obviously more money to pay yourself. So there you go. Or you need to, lots of my clients used to call it a cash infusion when tax time came, they needed to make some money because they wanted to make sure that they had enough to cover their taxes. So there's lots of different ways that you can sort of look at money in your business. But I think it's really important to say, all you have to do is go out and sign another client. And when that's the focus of what you're trying to do, and you are taking daily action to do that, reaching out to people every single day, talking to people about your business, connecting with people, building and valuing and nurturing relationships with them, the clients are going to come. And then the money is going to come. And once the money's there, that's when managing it is so important. So I hope that gives you a little bit of info on money. Like I say, it's very often a taboo subject because people don't like to talk about how little money they have, truly. Lots of people like to talk about how much money they have. And that's what makes the people with not that much money get even more annoyed. So it's just one of those things that I think it's really important to talk about. I think it's very important to consider as a business owner and understand that you're not just trying to, make a net amount of money every month. You are trying to build and grow a business, and you're trying to make sure that you can implement or bring in the systems and services and that kind of thing that you need to pay for to run your business. You don't need to do it all free. And in fact, you shouldn't be doing it all free or trying to figure out free ways of doing things. And you want to be able to pay yourself well. Obviously, that's why we're in business. We're not in business to just, cover the bills. We're in business to make a good living. And so that's what you want to be doing at the end of the day. So managing your money, I hope I gave you a few good tips today, and I look forward to hearing your questions and comments. I will see you next time. Take care.